Greetings, Wolfpack. This is Julie Wolf, and I'm here with mediator Amanda Singer. Amanda, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
Good, good, thanks. Beautiful day here in San Diego.
Yes.
So we're going to get started. This is about mediation because you are a full-time mediator. And the first thing I wanted to ask you is just your background and then your current position.
Yeah, definitely. So, a little bit about kind of my background. So I have my law degree. I am a licensed attorney. I just don't do any litigation. While I got my law degree, I also got my master's in dispute resolution at Pepperdine. They've got a wonderful program there. And I went straight into mediation. So I worked at the Family Law Facilitators office for a little bit with self-represented litigants. And otherwise, I started mediating when I was in law school, and I continued mediating straight after. I had done a lot of work with kids and families before going to law school, and so family law is kind of the area that, not only did I have most experience with, but also felt that mediation really lends itself very well to that. So currently, I am the co-owner of San Diego Family Mediation Center, as well as California Family Mediation Center in Orange County, and a professional full-time mediator. And I'm also a certified divorce financial analyst.
Wow, that's awesome. Yes, so I love Pepperdine. I got my LLM there in dispute resolution as well. Great school. So what is family law mediation? Can you define what that entails?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, there are going to be some different kind of ways that mediation is done, but kind of the general idea around mediation is you've got a neutral third party, the mediator. So that's the role that I take on, who works with the parties. So here works with both spouses to reach a resolution on the various issues. And so when we're talking about family law, that's going to be everything from could be parenting plan to child support, spousal support, division of assets and debts, and any other kind of peripheral agreements that come into play. The mediator doesn't represent either of the parties and is a neutral, is really there to facilitate the conversation, is not there to tell the parties what to do or make decisions for them, but to make sure that they have the information, they have the people to talk with, and they're working through the process to reach agreements on the various issues. Some mediators, like myself, we also assist with drafting and filing court paperwork. Other mediators may only focus just on the in-person mediation. So it's always going to be a little bit different depending on whether you may have an attorney present or not. There's many ways to do that.
You brought up, what if you have an attorney present? Is there a difference between having an attorney present and not?
There can be. And, what I always say is to any of my clients, it is always their choice. Whether they want to have their attorney present in mediation. And some take me up on that offer and want to have them there. And others will have an attorney, but they may choose to consult with them and attend mediation on their own. I think that either is an option. I think some of it depends on how comfortable you might feel with your spouse, right? If there is a larger power imbalance, sometimes having attorneys present can help with that to kind of equal it out in a way that I can't just completely on my own. But other times, if you do feel comfortable, I think that there can be benefits to just having the parties in the room because they're the decision makers. They're the ones this is about their lives. And so giving them the chance to have a conversation, it does change the dynamic with the attorneys there. And sometimes that can be for better with the power imbalances, but sometimes it can be harder to kind of reach agreements on certain things. So I find, again, that it's a client's choice, and it's going to be different in every situation, but understanding kind of why they do or don't want the attorneys there can help us figure out what's going to be best for them. Alternatively, the other thing too, I would say that comes up often is cost, right? If you have your attorney present for every mediation, you're paying 2 attorneys and a mediator, and that can add up. So sometimes I think people want to maximize kind of where they spend that money and be able to do it in a way that isn't paying 3 professionals all at once.
Sure. Definitely. Cost is a good benefit there. When people are getting ready for mediation, what should they do to prepare?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think that some of that preparation depends on where people are at in the process, because it's certainly, there is never a right or wrong time to decide you want to do mediation. You can do that at any point. But if, you're kind of, especially if you're at the beginning of the process, to start for mediation, the first thing we always offer a free consult. And I think that that's important. You should always meet with any mediator that you're thinking about working with first, so that you make sure that you trust that person, that you feel comfortable with them, and they're going to be the right professional to work with your case. And so, making sure that you've had the right pick the right person. And then your mediator should also be helping you provide, what do we need for our first meetings, right? So when clients
Okay.
come in to meet with me, we have a preparing for mediation workbook that kind of takes them through what that process is going to look like. We provide them with the financial disclosures to start working on. Some may choose to work on those on their own, or with an attorney, or with a financial expert. And it's, we don't require that all of that has to be done, but just getting people started on what they need to do. So I think that sometimes the misconception is that you have to have everything done before you start in mediation, or that you should have nothing. And so it's kind of just wherever you're
Okay.
at and figuring out what things you want to talk about.
Okay. So just kind of what works for the people that you're mediating with.
Yeah, because everybody has different issues that are important to them too, right? So I find that I usually start, if there's kids, we usually start with the parenting plan, partly because that takes less preparation. And so then people can feel like, okay, we don't have to get all of this information ready, but you can start working on it, and then we can still start moving the process along, and gather the information necessary if we're going to file for them, things like that.
Awesome. Okay. And right now, what do you think the biggest benefits to mediation in family law are?
Yeah, it's a good question, and there's a lot of them. I mean, I'm very passionate about
Okay.
mediation, so I can probably list off a lot. But I think that, a
Mhm.
couple things right now would be, as you know, the courts are very backed up, and they were closed. I
True.
think it ended up being for about 10 weeks when they reopened, and they're still backed up. So whether that's for hearings or paperwork or everything, and so mediation allows you an opportunity to move your case along in a way that the courts just can't provide right now. I mean, the courts have always been backed up, but I think it's only going to get worse. And so working with a mediator allows you to move that process along. And that's important for people. When you start the divorce process, I think that sometimes the hardest place to be is kind of in that limbo of what's happening and where are we getting. And so being able to work in mediation, reach agreements that you can then just file with the court, right? You're not having to wait to go in front of the judge and get that hearing date. And, I don't know, better, I'm sure, Julie, what
Yeah.
that's looking like right now. But I think that
It's a
time is a
long
big
wait.
thing. Yeah. Yeah. And I think
Definitely. There's a long wait for anything, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. And I think the other big one we talked a little bit before is the cost, right? So, again, if you are each paying your attorneys for every hearing and for back and forth and all of this, whereas you can all, even if you all sit down together, right? If you have your attorneys come to mediation, you're still getting more done in the time that you're all together than you would be if it's a back and forth between the attorneys. And so, I think cost is a big one. And I think the main thing too is the stress, is being able to, like I said, kind of get out of that limbo, but be able to work with your spouse and potential future co-parents, if you have kids together, in a way that is more amicable and doesn't automatically pitch you against each other, and brings the stress level down for both the clients and for their kids if they have them.
Wow, that's important. Definitely the stress level. I think everyone's already stressed now because of coronavirus and everything, and just
Yes.
getting divorced is stressful. Um, in
Yeah.
this time of coronavirus, is there a way to mediate like online without everyone coming to your office?
Yes. So we have been doing all of our mediations fully online since about mid-March, and it works very well. We use just kind of the format you and I are using to
Okay.
talk now. We use Zoom, and I can
Okay.
meet with clients that way. And there's a lot of flexibility that I think online mediation offers that meeting in person doesn't. One of those is, of course, we live in Southern California and there is traffic, there was traffic, not as much
Yep.
now, but it allows people to not have to sit in traffic and not get into my office after having just spent an hour in the car and being stressed out about being late, right? You just sit down at your computer in your home or wherever you choose to do it, and we have that meeting. And so it cuts out on that travel time for people.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've seen is that sometimes, people are hesitant to do mediation because they don't want to sit in the same room as their spouse. And while even in person, we can caucus and we can meet individually, there's a lot that you can get done when both are talking together. And so what I've found with the online mediations is that they feel more comfortable being in the same, we'll say, room, right? Because I can have all three, but they don't have to sit next to them. And they can, feel that ability to be able to kind of take the time if they need it, not feel like their spouse is right there next to them. And I think that's a big thing, especially when there's a power imbalance or there's some, fear associated with their spouse, and, making sure that they can still have those conversations, but they don't have to sit across the table from their spouse. And yet we're still kind of across the table. So I think that that's been really helpful for a lot of people. And also just the technology that we can utilize, things that you can't necessarily do in person. And, I know for some people it's tough and it's a learning curve, but I think I've been able to do things with clients through the Zoom sessions that I wouldn't necessarily do in person. And I think that makes us all more effective and efficient in the work we're doing.
Definitely. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of inventive ways to mediate, and that's awesome. So thank you so much for all your time and your information. Can you just tell us one more time, like where you work and how people can reach you?
Yeah, definitely. So San Diego Family Mediation Center, you can find us online at sdfmc.com. And then you can also reach us by phone at 858-736-2411. And we're always happy to talk with anyone who has questions about mediation or the process in general, even if you're not certain if mediation is going to be right for you.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much. And thank you very much, Wolfpack, for listening. You can always reach me at 619-77-SOL. Thank you.